So, I have done a couple of things to prep this scene. First thing I did is I went into the edit scene settings and I shrunk my tracker size down. I'm going to do it a little bit more because I just want to kind of unclutter the user interface a bit. And I'm holding down the control key right now to get a little more fine control in there. I'm also going to do that with the object size, the overall object that all these trackers are connected to. One other thing I'm going to do is if I go into quad perspective, and I'm going to go into the 3D view and go into quad perspective. I'm going to hit the hole button, and I'm going to move this over a little bit, just so that it's kind of more in the middle of our cloud of points. Before we do what I'm about to do, which is import some geometry. So I did a couple of other things too to just kind of clean up the scene. I suppose I should fill you in on those things as well. Right now we're in object 1 as the active tracker host. I'm going to go to camera 1. I'm going to click on that hole button again. And if I do that, I can grab everything in the scene. And I repositioned my point cloud for the object and the object itself more in the middle of the scene. So, there. All that being said, let's do the next step, which is I'm going to keep the active tracker host set on object. And I'm going to go File, Import, Mesh. And on the desktop, I've got my digital map Merc. And I'm just going to import that. So, a couple of things. I'm going to turn back faces on. A couple of things. When it comes in rotated at a kind of a funny angle because of the object's rotation. I could have imported it connected to the camera and had it straight up and down and then reparented it a bunch of other. Just easier to rotate it. Okay, here's the other thing. I'm going to switch to just plain old vanilla quad mode at this point. I'm going to zoom in all my viewports. And I'm going to select this tracker just so I can see where the tip of my nose is. So I'll move that guy down to there. And I will rotate my face, and I can see by rotating it in the front view, I can see how well it lines up here in the camera view. Obviously it's too big, so I'm going to scale it down. And when I do that scaling, I might need to reposition it again. So this is another one of those iterative processes. I want to get the mouth, and generally in the mouth area, I want to get the mouth of the geometry to line up to the mouth of the photography. Ooh, that was a mouthful. All right. No, I did not intend to say that. Pun. Ugh, I'm ashamed. I am fully ashamed of what I just did. Okay, so good enough for now. Now I gotta get like the profile of the cross section of my face to kind of match up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move forward in time a bit, and I'm going to see where things don't line up here. Make this a little bigger. So I'm falling off a little bit up here. So what that means to me is I should probably, from the front view, rotate it a little this way. And move it up a little bit that way. So this, like I said, it's an iterative process of alignment. We could use some of Synthai's new alignment tools to try and get us more in the ballpark on this. But in this case, they don't work particularly well and it's just easier to do this way. And we just want to kind of roughly get it in place. We don't need it to be exact, because we're going to do a bunch of secondary tracking at some point to see if I can capture some of the mouth opening and closing deformation and my eyebrow deformation. But that was it. I just wanted to get the geometry to line up a little better. Let's make this a little bit. Let's make this color a little easier to see. Yeah, there we go. So it doesn't combat the photography so much. And there you go. It was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm going to now export this into Blender and show what I consider to be a great way to mush the geometry around to make it conform more to the photography. It's just we're not going to animate any deformation, but we're just going to deform the mesh so that it more closely resembles the shape of my skull underneath and all of that, even though this was derived from an actual scan of my face at one point. But this is pretty good. This is a pretty good starting place. So that's that. I'm going to stop this here. I'm going to say File, Export, and I'm going to send that to Blender. It's a Python script. And let's just put that right on the desktop. And we'll just call it this name. And then we'll pick it up from there. But Blender version 2.66, all those things can stay the same, and hit OK, and we're good. So what I'm about to do in Blender, by the way, is equally applicable to any 3D app that you have. 3D Studio Max is particularly good at what I'm about to show you because of the excellent soft selection tools, but we're going to do it in Blender nonetheless. So there you have it. Stay tuned. I'll get to that at some point in the future. Well, here, I'm going to scooch this down a little bit. Yeah, there. Now the eyes match up a little better. Okay, I'm done. I promise. I'm really done. I'm done. I'm gonna hit the stop button on the recording now. Okay, here we go. Stop. Stopping.